Hello viewers, myself CA Pankaj Shukla. I'm a chartered accountant and a law graduate in practice for more than 10 years. I usually deal in indirect taxation and critical matters of GST and other indirect taxes. Today, the topic of our discussion is clarification about applicability of GST and its rates on under construction and ready to move in property. Dear friends, first we need to understand about the applicability of GST. On what kind of properties GST is applicable. Dear friends, sale of a building is an activity or consideration which is neither a supply of goods nor a supply of services. Para 5 of Schedule 3 of CGST Act 2017. It means that sale of ready to move in or completed property does not attract GST. GST is payable only on under construction property as discussed below. What is provided in GST Act? As per GST Act, para 5B of CGST Act 2017, construction of complex building, civil structure, including a complex or building intended for sale to a buyer, wholly or partly, except where the entire consideration has been received after issuance of completion certificate, where required by the competent authority or after his first occupation, whichever is earlier, is a supply of service and liable to tax. It means that property for which completion certificate has been issued, no GST is applicable on ready to move in or completed property. From the given legislation, we can understand or it can be concluded that no GST is applicable on constructed property. Ready to move in flats and buildings where the sale takes place after the issuance of completion certificate by the government authorities. So the legislation we have read, we can understand that those properties, the liability to pay GST arises when the construction of building is done. There is no liability of GST on ready to move in properties or ready to move in buildings. The liability of GST is on under construction building. So when the competent authority gives the completion certificate of a building, then liability to pay GST does not arise. Liability to pay GST arises only on under construction properties. Then it can be concluded that when at the time of sale, if the occupancy certificate or completion certificate has been obtained, then the subject matter is not liable to tax. Apart from that, under construction property is liable to GST. Now we will understand the rates of GST. What are the rates of GST? Dear friends, GST Council in the 34th meeting held on 19th March 2019 has approved a transition plan for 5% rate on under construction flats and 1% on affordable housing, and has also increased the carpet area of flats under the affordable housing. Actually, the subject matter of GST rates has been a matter of much ambiguity. The rates has been revised from 1st April 2019, but there is still ambiguity in the sector. GST department has changed the rates, and the rates is categorized in residential sector and commercial sector. The residential sector is further categorized in two segments: affordable housing segment and non-affordable housing other than affordable housing segment. We will discuss about affordable housing and other than affordable housing. The rates are also different. As far as the rate of the changes of rates are concerned, in this transition plan, 5% rate is usually on residential real estate apartments, and 1% rate is for affordable housing, real estate apartments. And there is no change in the commercial sector. Commercial real estate apartments, there is no change, that is still taxable at the rate of 12%. Definition of, as far as definition of affordable housing, that is also expanded in this given legislation from 1st April 2019. Reduction in the GST rates is only for the residential projects, as I told you, and not for commercial projects. However, commercial projects up to 15% commercial space will be treated as residential property, meaning thereby the total apartment area, commercial any commercial establishment, any commercial project which is not exceeding the total apartment area by 15%, by its 15%, will be treated as residential real estate apartment and will be taxed in the ambit of 5%. Now we will need to understand that what are the the new rates are applicable, and there are some conditions for applicability of new rates. The new tax rates will be available subject to the condition that ITC shall not be available. The input tax credit shall not be available, and 80% of inputs and input services should be purchased from registered person. Real estate developers will need to purchase 80% of its inputs and input services from registered dealers, registered persons under GST. And also, any shortfall in purchases from the registered persons shall lead the builder to pay the applicable higher GST. Higher GST means 18% GST on a reverse charge mechanism basis. Except cement. Cement is chargeable at 28%, or capital goods are charged at their applicable rates. Now, as far as the rates are concerned, earlier the rates will be flashing on the slides as well. Earlier the rate was on affordable housing segment, the rate was 8%, and on other than affordable housing segment the rate was 12%. And commercial sector the rate was also 12%. Now after the change, as applicable from 1st April 2019, there is 1% GST without ITC on affordable housing segment, and 5% GST on other than affordable housing residential segment. And as far as commercial segment is concerned, there is no change. There is a 12% rate with ITC. So we can see that now the change of rate is on affordable housing segment, the GST is reduced from 8% to 1%. And on other than affordable housing segment, GST is reduced from 12% to 5%. The benefit of ITC is not available to the developer, and the GST is chargeable and these reduced rates. Developers of the ongoing residential projects. Ongoing residential projects is an important criteria, important factor. Developers of the ongoing residential projects have also been given an one-time option to choose between the old tax rates with ITC and the new tax rate without ITC for under construction residential projects, so as to resolve any issues related to the input tax credit. The ongoing projects, the projects which were ongoing as on 1st April 2019, the developers of the projects have been given one-time opportunity to carry on the old rates on those ongoing projects. For this purpose, they will have to specifically exercise this option, that they are going to choose this option. For their ongoing projects, they will use the ITC and charge the that time applicable rate, that is 8% or 12%. The modality of new tax rate. As far as the modality of new tax rate is concerned, as I told earlier, that the real estate housing segment is divided in two sectors, affordable housing and non-affordable housing. As far as affordable housing is concerned, the GST is chargeable at 1%, as I told earlier, and no ITC is available. On non-affordable housing segment, GST is chargeable at 5%, no ITC is available. Now, to understand this affordable housing and non-affordable housing, other than affordable housing. This affordable housing in metro area, what affordable house is? In metro area, The unit of residential apartment should not exceed 60 square meter, and the value of such house should not be more than 45 lakhs. In non-metro area, the area of the residential unit should be up to 90 square meter. It should not be more than 90 square meter, and the value of such unit should not exceed 45 lakh rupees. This is the affordable segment in metro area and non-metro area. The value of house is not changed in metro or non-metro, that is 45 lakhs for each. The area in square meter is different. For metro area it is 60 square meter, for non-metro area it is 90 square meter. And as I told earlier, that on non-affordable housing, GST rate is 5% and no ITC is available. So now we can see that there is a change in rate. The rate is reduced from 8%, 12% to 1% and 5%. This was really a good step and taken for boosting the real estate industry. So viewers, you can gain this knowledge and check nearby with the dealing persons, with the dealing developers, that GST is charged, GST is being correctly charged or not. If there were any ongoing projects still now, whether the benefit of ITC, if the developer is taking the benefit of ITC, and whether the benefit of ITC is passed on to the consumers or not. And when and as far as this option was concerned, now after 1st April 2019, there is no option for new projects. The builder has no option for new projects. He cannot opt to avail the ITC and charge the older rates on new projects. On new projects, it is mandatory to follow the new rates only. The concept of old rates was available for the ongoing projects, and also the ongoing project, the option of old rates was available where the builder has exercised the option. Specifically, the builder needed to exercise the option that for such ongoing projects, the builder is intended to follow the old rates and avail the benefit of ITC. Where the option was not exercised, the new rates were applicable. And apart from this, as far as the development rights are concerned, development rights, we can say transferable development rights, joint development agreements, FSIs and lease premiums, etc. These are exempt if GST is payable on in product houses, and taxable if GST is not exempt. So as far as the transaction is concerned, this transition option, how we should see in the slide that how the transition occurred, how should the transition occur, and how the transitions occurred. On ongoing projects, builder need to continue to pay tax at old rates, where the effective rate on affordable house and other than affordable housing segment was 8% and 12% respectively, and input tax credit was also available. Now the ongoing projects was also explained that construction, what projects shall be considered as ongoing projects, where the construction have started before 1st April 2019 and actual booking have started before 1st April 2019, and the project has not been completed by 31st March 2019. Such projects shall be considered as ongoing projects. New rates applicable on ongoing projects. All the new projects along with ongoing projects which have not exercised the above option, the new rates shall apply, as I told earlier. New GST rates apply on following: new projects, all houses which meet the definition of affordable houses having an area of 60 square meter, 90 square meter in metro and non-metro area, and the value of house should also not be more than 45 lakh rupees. Ongoing projects, affordable houses being constructed under the existing central and state housing schemes where the existing construction rate of 8% GST is applicable. Now this is also relevant to understand that such projects which are under central government schemes or state government schemes which attract lower GST due to some exemption notification and reduced rates are applicable, those projects also under the ambit of these new rates, like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana projects, all the projects which are after 1st April 2019 are applicable with the new rates only. New GST rate shall apply on following new projects, all houses other than the affordable houses in the new projects. Ongoing projects, all houses other than the affordable houses in ongoing projects whether booked prior to 1st April 2019. In case of houses booked prior to 1st April 2019, new rates shall be applicable only on installments payable on or after 1st April 2019. Input tax rate shall not be available in the new rates. There is one thing to note, as there is a slide explained in slide as well. Ongoing projects where the construction and booking both have started before 1st April 2019 and have opted for new tax rate shall transition the input tax credit as per the prescribed method. What should be done by the builders? ITC for the entire project shall be arrived at by extrapolating the ITC taken on the basis of percentage of completion as on 1st April 2019. Eligibility of ITC shall be determined on the basis of percentage of booking of flats and invoicing done. Therefore, on pro rata basis, the ITC credit shall be allowed. That is, credit in proportion to the booking of the flat and invoicing done for the booking of flat. New rate of 5% shall also be applicable on commercial apartments, such as shops, offices, etc., which are constructed in the residential real estate projects, provided the carpet area of the commercial apartment is not more than 15% of total carpet area of all apartments. This I have explained this point earlier also, that residential real estate projects, we have seen like in Noida and in these metro cities, there are the high-rise societies, and under these high-rise societies, the commercial establishment, commercial apartments also. On such commercial apartments, commercial establishment, GST rate is applicable of 5% only if total area of these commercial establishment, these commercial apartment does not exceed 15% of the total apartments area. The rate of 5% GST is applicable on these commercial establishment also. I have told earlier also, commercial projects. On commercial projects, whether ongoing or new, GST rates have not been changed. Rate is 12%. ITC shall be available. Applicability, as far as applicability is concerned, all new or ongoing projects which consist of 100% commercial apartments such as shops, offices, etc. What about the mixed use projects? Mixed use projects are those projects which consist of residential houses as well as commercial properties. And the corporate area of the commercial project is more than 15% of the total corporate area of all the apartments. GST rate shall remain at 12% for the commercial apartments, and for housing sector GST rate as defined in the relevant sections mentioned above. Likewise, in the mixed project, GST shall be, as far as commercial apartment is concerned, commercial concern is concerned, the GST rate shall be 12%, and on residential units rate shall be at as applicable for the new rates, as I have told the new rates, 1% on affordable housing and 5% on other than affordable housing. And as far as ITC is concerned, input tax credit shall be available for commercial segment only. For a mixed use project, inputs ITC shall be available on pro rata basis in proportion to the carpet area of the commercial portion of the ongoing project to the total carpet area of the project. On the commercial portion in the ongoing project, tax shall be payable at 12% along with the benefit of ITC even after 1st April 2019. Conditions for applicability of new GST rates, this I have told earlier also. Builders need to purchase 80% of inputs and input services from the registered persons. Input and input services, however, do not include purchase of capital goods, joint development agreements, FSIs, long-term lease premiums, etc. If there is a shortfall in meeting in the above conditions of 80% purchase of input and input services from the registered person, then the builder shall be liable to pay tax at 18% on reverse charge mechanism basis. However, builders need to pay tax on cement purchased from the unregistered person at 20% under RCM, reverse charge mechanism, and on capital goods under RCM at applicable rates. This was the legislation which I have mentioned through the slides. Now the thing is this, that this legislation has to be presented in today's session, because there was an ambiguity on real estate sector what rates to be charged, and the main problem is this, that there is a question that on when GST shall be charged on under construction properties, and when GST shall be charged, not charged on under construction properties, when there is some portion of the flat, the society or the apartment is ready to move in, and some portion is under construction. And there are instances also when some consideration has been received when the property was under construction, and some consideration was received when the property was ready to move in. Then there is a question from industry that what shall be the chargeability of the GST in such cases, whether GST shall be charged or shall not be charged. This question came many times before me and before the industry as well, as I know. So the basic thing that I told earlier also, the litmus test is that when the completion certificate or occupancy certificate has been obtained by the competent authority, and the sale happened after obtaining such completion certificates or occupancy certificates, then GST shall not at all be chargeable. If any amount has been received earlier when the property was under construction, that the GST may be charged at that amount. But when the property completion certificate or occupancy certificate has been obtained, and any amount is charged after that completion certificate, that then on those transactions, on those invoices, GST shall not be charged. One question also came from the industry that how these commercial establishments shall be considered, where the 15% commercial establishment are charged at lower GST rates. As I told earlier, that 5% rate is applicable on commercial establishments, where the 15% area is covered by the commercial establishment of the total apartments. Now, in that case, the question rose before the industry that whether in these high-rise societies there is also the common area of amenities like parks and swimming pools and clubs facilities, then whether for calculation of this 15% area, this club facilities and park facilities and swimming pool facilities shall be considered or not. In that regard, this is clarified by the department, by the CBIC, that in such cases, actually, this has to be seen by the declaration filed by the builder in the applicable authority, like in Greater Noida and Noida, there is a Noida authority, or wherever the competent authority is, builder just filed. It explains that what kind of project is. If it is a real estate residential project, then the concern shall be considered under real estate residential segment, and the applicability of 15% area shall also be seen. Apart from that, some questions also rose before that the industry, that whether these rates in case of reversal, as far as reversal of ITC is concerned, as far as the where 80% purchases are not done by the builders from registered dealers, what need to be done, and what kind of expenses should be considered in that cases. Then it was said that whatever the percentage is remaining for completion of 80%, this shortfall shall have to be paid by builders under reverse charge mechanism. In these cases, purchase of capital goods, purchase of FSIs, transfer development rights was excluded. Other than these expenses, these substantial significant expenses, the builder has to pay builder has to pay 20%, so whatever be the shortfall under reverse charge mechanism, and at the applicable higher rate, that is 18% rate. In this case, as I have explained, the capital goods which are taxable at their applicable rates, the chargeability under reverse charge mechanism shall be on those applicable rates only. So now it is very clear in our concept that GST will be applicable on the sale of those under construction properties or ready to move in flats where the completion certificate have been issued at the time of sale, and no GST applicable on ready to move in or completed property. This was the crux. This was the legislation which came on first, which was applicable from on the industry from 1st April 2019, and the GST authorities also done this in the favor of industry to boost the industry, and if analysis of these rates is done, we have a shortfall of time. Otherwise, we could have done a analysis of earlier area when the taxability had higher rates, and now after the change of rates in the new regime, the applicability of new rates are concerned. Definitely, the benefit has been imparted to consumers. Now the property is available at lower rates than the earlier rates to the consumers, and the industry is benefited at large. There are also some points which we had discussed earlier, that commercial segment. As far as the commercial segment is concerned, GST, there is no change in GST. GST is chargeable at 12% rates only, and the benefit of ITC is available on these commercial properties, commercial concerns. And when there is a mixed, when I have also told earlier, then when there are the mixed use projects, then the benefit of ITC is available on pro rata basis. For the segment which is commercial segment, the benefit of ITC is available, and the segment which is residential sector, the benefit of ITC is not available. The GST is charged at lower rates on the benefit of on the residential units, and the GST is charged at 12% rate on the commercial segment. So as of now, we are done with the, I think this knowledge on GST rates and applicability of GST would benefit the consumers and the viewers and the country at large. And whatever be the queries, I shall be on the blogs and internet, and I shall solve the queries of all the stakeholders, whatever be on the GST topics.
क्रिटिकल है बट वी आर ट्राइंग।
ये सब हुआ कैसे?
एक फोन आया था राजेश के पास। उसने कहा कि उनकी 1 करोड़ की लॉटरी निकली है और उसके लिए उसने बैंक डिटेल्स मांगी। राजेश ने सारी डिटेल्स दे दी। 1 घंटे के अंदर ही उनके बैंक अकाउंट से सारा पैसा साफ हो गया और वो यहाँ आ गए। हार्ट अटैक आया है।
देखा आपने, आपकी जरा सी असावधानी क्या कर सकती है। डिजिटल फ्रॉड करने वालों से सावधान रहें। अपनी बैंक डिटेल्स, अपना डेबिट या क्रेडिट कार्ड नंबर, एक्सपायरी डेट, सीवीवी, ओटीपी, पिन कभी किसी को ना बताएं। सावधान रहें, समझदार बने।
IEPF अथॉरिटी द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
हाँ जी सुरेश जी, रिटायरमेंट के बाद जो प्रोविडेंट फंड आएगा उसका क्या करेंगे?
कुछ खास प्लान नहीं है, पड़ा रहेगा बैंक में, ब्याज आता रहेगा और क्या।
सुरेश जी, बैंक से कितना ब्याज आएगा? एक नई स्कीम बताता हूँ, उसमें पैसे लगा दो, साल भर में दुगने बल्कि चौगुना हो जाएगा। हाँ, बस कुछ नए मेंबर्स बनाने।
नहीं सुरेश जी, इन सब फालतू चक्करों में मत पड़िए। ये नए मेंबर बनाना, रातों रात करोड़पति बनाना, ऐसे सपने दिखाने वाली स्कीम से बचकर रहें। आप लालच में आकर नहीं, समझदारी से निवेश करें। नए मेंबर बनाओ, वर्ल्ड टूर पे जाओ, कमीशन पाओ या उपहार घर ले जाओ। ऐसे सपने दिखाने वाली स्कीम से बचकर रहें। ऐसी स्कीम्स धोखा हो सकती हैं।
IEPF अथॉरिटी कॉर्पोरेट कार्य मंत्रालय द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
यार वो मेरे बचपन का दोस्त है, वो क्यों मुझसे झूठ कहने लगा? वो कह रहा था इस स्कीम में पैसा लगाने पर 6 महीने में 10 के 20,000 हो जाएंगे।
और तूने मान लिया?
ऐसा ऑफर कौन छोड़ता है? 10,000 के 20,000?
एक काम कर, ये ले 100 रुपये पकड़ना और जाके 10 किलो लड्डू लेके आ।
अबे पागल है क्या? 100 रुपए में 10 किलो लड्डू आते हैं? अबे इसके तो 1 किलो लड्डू भी नहीं आएंगे।
जब इतना जानता है तो ये नहीं जानता कि 6 महीने में 10,000 के 20,000 नहीं होते। समझदारी बढ़ा, लालच नहीं।
लालच में न आए, समझदारी बढ़ाएं। IEPF अथॉरिटी द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
कैनवास में रंग भरकर उसे जीवित बना देना एक कला कहलाती है। इसी तरह अपनी जमा पूंजी बढ़ाकर जिंदगी बना लेना भी एक कला ही है। मैंने भी ये स्टूडियो ऐसे ही बनाया है, पाई पाई जमा करके। मुझे भी लोग फ़ोन करते हैं, मेल करते हैं, मुझे कन्विंस करते हैं कि उनकी इन्वेस्टमेंट स्कीम्स बहुत अच्छी है। उन लोगों के भी रेफरेंसेस देते हैं जिन्हें फ़ायदा हुआ है, पर मैं अपनी रिसर्च खुद करती हूँ। आपको भी यही करना चाहिए। सरकार के कुछ वेबसाइट्स हैं जिन पर जाकर आप अपने निवेश से संबंधित पूरी जानकारी ले सकते हैं, और ये वेबसाइट्स हैं मैं अपने पैसों को लेकर सावधान रहती हूँ, आप भी रहिए।
IEPF अथॉरिटी द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
Namaskar and welcome all the viewers of this program. First, I would like to thank IEPF Authority for inviting me. Today we are discussing about mutual funds and 5 myths about mutual fund. So during these deliberations, I will be bilingual, Hindi and English. Namaskar. So let's start with the topic mutual funds. So before we going into this mutual fund details, first we start with basic concepts of mutual funds. What is mutual funds? Who is the regulatory authority of mutual funds? What is the classification, bifurcations of mutual funds? And what is the benefits of mutual funds? So before going into the depth, let's start with the basic concept of mutual fund. What is mutual fund? So a mutual fund is a common pool of money into which investor place their contribution that are to be invested in different type of securities in accordance with the stated objectives. So stated objective means यहाँ एक स्पेशल ऑब्जेक्टिव है कि जो हम म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं उसका एक स्पेशल पर्पज के लिए इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, और उस स्टेटेड ऑब्जेक्टिव को समझने के लिए हमें करना होगा classification, bifurcation of mutual funds. So the mutual fund is bifurcated in 3 parts on the basis of style of investment, on the basis of structure of investment, on the basis of objective of investment. So if we go on the basis of structure, so there are 3 types of mutual fund: open-ended mutual fund, closed-ended mutual fund, and interval funds. So second, based on investment objective, mutual fund is classified into three parts, that is debt fund, equity fund, and hybrid fund. And third one is based on the investment style. The mutual fund is classified in two parts, passive funds and active funds. So brief of this is the open-ended fund. What is open-ended fund? Open-ended fund means no fixed maturity time, means you can invest any point of time in mutual fund. There is no time limit, no open, that is totally open at any point of time. And second one is unit capital is not fixed. In this open-ended fund, unit capital is not fixed. Second one is closed-ended fund, that is open for a specific period of time, then after that it will be closed. So unit capital is fixed in this scheme. And third one is interval funds. So second one is based on the investment objective. Investment objective, mutual fund is classified in three parts. Debt fund. Debt fund means, as the name suggests, the amount of corpus is invested in short-term or long-term debt. So in this scheme, the regular income is coming. So second one is equity fund. The amount is invested in equity schemes, but when the equity is involved, there is little risk of investment. Third is hybrid fund. This is the mixture of debt fund and equity fund. So investment in combination of equity and debt securities. Third one is category is passive fund and active fund. So passive fund and active fund means passive, as the name suggests, passive means replicate at market index, no active selection of any stock or sector. Expenses in these schemes are lower. So second one is active funds, actively manage the allocation to market securities and cash, or incur a higher cost than passive funds. So second one is, let's start investments. Investments are held in a trust of which the investor alone are the joint beneficial owner. So this is the myth. Before we start about the myth, the mutual fund is a common pool of money that you can see here, common pool of money into which investor place their contribution that are to be invested in different type of security in accordance with the stated objectives. Stated objectives, we have just clarified the things. Second one is investments are held in a trust of which the investor alone are the joint beneficial owner. And third one is trustee oversees the management of investment manager. So let's start. Next thing is myths. So myths means misconception. Myths क्या भ्रम है लोगों के मन में म्यूचुअल फंड को लेके बहुत से भ्रम होते हैं कि म्यूचुअल फंड में ऐसा है या वैसा है. सो आज हम बेसिकली ब्रॉडली 5 मिथ्स को लेके चलेंगे जो वन बाय वन हम क्लैरिफाई करेंगे और आफ्टर दैट वी विल डिस्कस अबाउट द थिंग्स. सो फर्स्ट मिथ इज it is the same as equity investing. So investing in stocks and investing in mutual funds are not the same. Means if you invest in a stock market or you invest in a mutual fund, that is not the same. This is a huge misconception and it is important to understand the difference and look at how an investor should evaluate the two differently. Second one, for one, stock price fluctuates constantly based on the demand and supply dynamics and of course factors that are specific to the company or markets in which stock is traded. So this is the basic difference between mutual funds and share markets. Shares, so share is traded in stock markets, that is depend upon the company share price of a company is depend basically on two things: performance of the company and other parameters. Other parameter, fundamental analysis, what is the other factors that depends upon the value of a share price. And mutual fund is invested by a is managed by a assets management company which is managed by a highly rich experienced persons. So that is the difference. That's why we can say that both the things are not same. So mutual fund on the other hand buy a basket of stock across various sectors and gives them a completely different flavor. So mutual fund, as we discussed before, it is a diversification, it is a bundle of investments. So it's in mutual funds we purchase, we invest by the amount is invested by a assets management company that is invested by his experience, by their experience in different sectors. NAV of a mutual fund versus price of a stock. The stock price represents value of share of a company. So stock price is valued by their value of the company. If we multiply the value of a share with the number of share of a company, then it comes market capitalization. But mutual fund, the NAV of a scheme reflects the total value of assets minus liabilities. Risk and cost. In terms of risk and cost, what is the difference between them? Stock are proved to be cheaper but carry significantly high risk. Investing in stock requires an additional level of skill, knowledge and ability to invest in the right manner. When it comes to the company, AMC होती है, वो invest करती है and that is run by highly knowledgeable persons. So that is run. So what is assets management company? We will discuss in later on कि what is the structure of a mutual fund and who is the regulatory authority of a mutual fund. Basically, the mutual fund is regulated by SEBI, Security and Exchange Board of India. All the rules and regulation guidelines are to be followed by the AMC that is issued by SEBI. So जो SEBI के द्वारा जो भी rules regulations होते हैं वो AMC को follow करने होते हैं और उसी के द्वारा ही सारे rules regulation बनाए जाते हैं और वही follow किए जाते हैं. सेकेंड मिथ है, सेकेंड भ्रम है लोगों में कि पास्ट परफॉर्मेंस इज ऑल दैट मैटर्स. मींस एक म्यूचुअल फंड ने जो पास्ट परफॉर्मेंस दे दी है उसी के बेस पे आप इन्वेस्ट कर दीजिए मार्केट में, उसी म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट कर दीजिए. दैट इज़ नॉट करेक्ट, दैट इज़ टोटली इनकरेक्ट. सो performance become the sole deciding factor whether to invest or liquidate is not correct. While we advocate the returns remain an important indicator of how a fund has been able to deliver across varied market cycle, it is not only the factor. Top performing fund but was not it in the past means जो आज आपके जो म्यूचुअल फंड के जो फंड्स हैं पर टॉप परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं, ये नहीं हो सकता है कि वो पास्ट में अच्छा कर रहे हैं या फ्यूचर में भी अच्छा करेंगे, क्योंकि ये टाइम टू टाइम चेंज होता रहता है. तो हिस्टोरिकल रिटर्न्स डू प्रोवाइड एन इंसाइट इनटू द फंड हैज डन इन द पास्ट बट इट predictive power are limited. A fund impressive performance is not guaranteed to be repeated in future. Past performance of sponsor, mutual fund, investment manager is not indicative of the fund performance of the scheme. एक बेसिक जो मिथ है, भ्रम है लोगों में, ये रहता है कि म्यूचुअल फंड के लिए हमें डीमैट अकाउंट ओपन करना होगा. दैट इज़ नॉट करेक्ट, क्योंकि हमें इफ़ यू वांट टू इन्वेस्ट इन शेयर देन डीमैट अकाउंट इज़ मैंडेटरी, बट इफ़ यू वांट टू इन्वेस्ट इन म्यूचुअल फंड डीमैट अकाउंट इज़ नॉट मैंडेटरी. इट यू हैव टू फिल ओनली KYC, नो योर कस्टमर फॉर्म्स. आफ्टर दैट यू कैन इन्वेस्ट एनी स्कीम ऑफ द म्यूचुअल फंड. थर्ड myth, timing the market. Markets are cyclical in nature and witness many ups and downs. Investing based on market movements or trying to estimate market movements could prove determinant to an investor portfolio. Investor often exit a fund due to its underperformance just in time to see its returns. On the other side, investors tend to buy into a fund when the performance has likely peaked and expect to generate a return. So timing the market is also important in mutual fund. But how? Investment decisions should be based on a combination of fundamental strength backed by the quantitative and qualitative support. Fourth one, investment return versus investor returns. Means a mutual, when we invest in a mutual fund scheme, so the return mutual fund, why we invest in a mutual fund? We invest mutual fund for the two reasons, to earn income or for capital appreciation. So mutual, when we invest in a mutual funds, तो म्यूचुअल फंड से हमें जो रिटर्न मिलता है दो तरीके से मिलता है. एक आप डिविडेंड के रूप में वापस म्यूचुअल फंड्स हमें वापस करता है, या आपकी कैपिटल एप्रिसिएशन के लिए करता है. तो ये एक मिसकंसेप्शन है कि जो मैंने आज म्यूचुअल फंड में किसी में इन्वेस्ट कर दिया सपोज एक्स एंड वाई ने भी म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट किया है, तो बोथ विल गेट द सेम रिटर्न. दैट इज नॉट करेक्ट. सो द investment returns versus investor return. It's a common phenomenon that fund returns, often presented as a part of the documentations, do not tie in with the returns that investor experience. The marketing material depict your returns if you made a lump sum investment at a particular point of time and left it alone. So if we understand what is lump sum investments, so in mutual funds you can invest money in two ways, either lump sum investments, one time investments, or through SIP, systematic investment plan. So lump sum investment, if you want to invest the money in lump sum manner, what is lump sum investment? Suppose you want to invest 1 lakh rupee at a time, that is called lump sum investment. So usually large amount of money is invested in lump sum, and investor face small risk, your volatility in the market, because you are invested at a specific point of time. So what is SIP, systematic investment plan? Staggered way में आप invest कर रहे हैं through timely, मतलब gradually धीरे धीरे आप invest कर रहे हैं, that is called SIP. Period of commitment आता है 6 month, 1 year, 5 years, 7 years, और यहाँ आपका risk other than lump sum investment कम होता है. There could be multiple reasons for the gap, ranging from the timing of investment or a redemption, the type of fund that been considered, or investor behaviors. So why the difference between investment returns and investor returns? Let's we understand why there is a gap between the investor returns and investment return. Investor behavior is a topic that has been widely researched, and study found that investor biases impact everyone. Effective investing is not a skill that comes naturally to the most of us. Yet we are often overconfident about our abilities when it comes to investing successfully. The study found that most people face biases around prioritizing their short-term goals over long-term ones, overlooking the base rates while investing, and carried a strong aversion to losses. So this is also a myth. So last myth but not the least, so other myths is that कि आपको म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्टमेंट करने के लिए huge amount of investment is required. That is also not a correct. If you want to invest in a mutual fund, you can start with a small amount like 500 rupees. You can start investment in mutual fund. So huge amount is not required. So last but not least, the diversifications. This is the basic objective of mutual fund, is the diversification, because when we invest in a mutual fund, so the amount is diversified in different shares, securities, debts, equities. So the diversification is the main objective of mutual funds. So what is the myths in diversification? While the assets allocation mix could be different for every investor, a rise or a fall in the markets could impact the asset allocation mix significantly. Here, it's important to ensure that we rebalance and review our portfolios on a regular basis. Means the myth is that if you invest in a mutual fund, that amount is safe. No, you have to watch regularly. You have to review at what point of time you have to exit from the mutual fund, at what point of time you have to enter into mutual fund. That is also, because once you invest in a mutual fund, that is and sit this, that is not correct. So you have to review time to time on regular basis. While the asset allocation mix could be different for every investor, a rise or a fall in the markets could impact the asset allocation mix significantly. Here, it's important to ensure that we rebalance and review our portfolio on a regular basis. Over diversification is another factor. Over diversifications means you have invested so many schemes. That is also another factor. We often invest in mutual fund with same category without realizing the similarity or dissimilarity between the funds. When it comes to investing, there could be a huge difference in the investing styles between the two funds. Fund manager tend to have different style, investment, horizons and philosophies. Means fund managers. Who is the fund manager? So let's we start discuss small about the basic structures, how mutual funds work. So mutual funds is as already told that is regulated by Security Exchange Board of India. So mutual fund is established as a trust, and that trust is registered under Indian Trust Act 1882. So when one sponsors and trustees comes and they signed create a trust that create a mutual fund, then mutual fund we create a assets management company, and that mutual fund is run by that assets management company. So fund managers tend to have different style, investment horizons and philosophies. Investors on the other hand tend to have varying investment goal and risk appetites. So risk appetites आपका कितना है, risk लेने की कितनी क्षमता है, that is also depends upon the return on mutual funds. If you have a high risk appetites, if you are a high risk appetites, so naturally the returns and the risk both are high. It is important to remember that there is no concept of assured return and a one size fits all solution in the mutual fund industry. So that is also a myth that we have clarified. An investor's assets allocation strategy must be well balanced and in line with their goal. From an assets allocation perspective, if you have a multiple funds that invest in the same stock, that could lead to an increase in your exposure toward a particular stock or a set of stocks. In conclusion, understanding the style and differences across the investing pattern of different funds can help bring about stability across an investor portfolio. It prevents investor from taking an additional unwarranted risk as a part of their portfolio and bring in a lot of discipline in the investment process. So these are the basically 5 myths. So if we discuss about another myths, so ये भी एक भ्रम होता है कि म्यूचुअल फंड के लिए more documentation is required. Means like demat account you have to submit lots of documents. So in mutual funds there is no more documentation is required. You have to fill only KYC forms, then you can start investing in mutual funds. So mutual fund you can invest two modes, online and paper copy, hard offline. So online today scenario there are lots of applications, so mobile applications through which you can invest in mutual funds. So that is also not correct ki lots of more documentation is required. So another is extensive knowledge and skilled expert knowledge is required while investing in mutual fund. That is not correct, because in mutual funds on our behalf assets management company that is run by expertise is invested, so expert knowledge is not required. So in conclusions, that is the myths. So in conclusion, mutual fund remains one of the best and most practical ways to invest in money. One of the most significant benefit is that your money will be professionally managed by fund managers who have conducted extensive market research. So clear your mind of any false beliefs you may have about mutual funds. Mutual fund investing, when done correctly, can be a great way to put your money to work. So finally, I will say that make your investment decision wisely. So before you invest any schemes, any funds, anywhere, so investment decision should be taken wisely. So the returns that I've already told, the returns in mutual funds come in two ways. Either you can take the dividends, way of dividends, or either way of capital appreciation. If you want to take as a dividends, you monthly, a timely, a periodic time, the dividends comes in your accounts. If you want to capital as investment, capital appreciation, the same as done in fixed deposits, the dividend is not come out and that amount is reinvest in your scheme, and that is called capital growth scheme. So with this I would like to conclude my session and thank you for watching this. Dhanyavad.
Welcome to all. School of Education is offering 2 master's degree. One of the master degree is Master of Arts in Adult Education. And in this program, there are 3 programs of adult education, namely postgraduate certificate in adult education, postgraduate diploma in adult education, and Master of Arts in Adult Education. In today's session, we have with us the program coordinator, Dr. M.V. Lakshmi Reddy, and myself, Dr. Elizabeth Kurula, who is the co-coordinator of Master of Arts in Adult Education. In this session, we are going to discuss the queries of students regarding the practical components and dissertation work. And in these 3 programs, PGCAE, PGDAE and Master of Arts in Adult Education, there are practical components, and in MAAE, besides practical component, there is dissertation work. Sir, in this context, we are getting lot of queries. So for the first time, I want to ask, what is the broad framework of the course of adult education programs?
I think it is very important question that you have raised. Unless and until students have better understanding of the entire framework of these programs, they will not have clarity about the practical components where they are exactly located. So for that purpose, it is better to have an understanding of the complete framework of all these programs. As far as Master of Arts in Adult Education is concerned, it is a modular program. PGDAE is the first year of it, and in the first year there are 4 theory courses and 1 practical course. 4 theory courses are of 24 credits, and first 2 courses, that is MAAE 001 and MAAE 002, are also part of postgraduate certificate in adult education. So these are the theory courses, and our focus in this session is on practical components. So where exactly this practical component is located, we will see. So it is in the first year of MAE, which is also equal to postgraduate diploma in adult education. So this MAEL 001, it is of 10 credits course, and total credits for the first year are 34 credits, 24 theory courses and 10 credits for practical components. Out of these practical components, there are 3 categories in fact. One is community-based practical components or activities, and workshop-based practical activities, and adult education training center or institution-based practical activities. Those students who enroll into MAAE and complete first year of a master's degree, they will be awarded with a postgraduate certificate in adult education, and completion of this practical course is compulsory along with all other 4 theory courses. It means all courses in PGDAE are compulsory, that is in first year of MAAE are compulsory. Coming to the second year of the courses, there are 4 theory courses in the second year also, and the first 2 courses, that is MAE 004 and MAE 005, these are compulsory for all the students, and there are optional courses. In fact, these 2 are optional courses. Out of these 2, student has to select only 1 course. Then there are 2 more optional courses, that is MAEE 002 and MESC 062. Out of these 2 theory courses, student has to select 1 optional course. So totally 4 theory courses the student will be selecting, out of which 2 are rather compulsory, and dissertation work is of 10 credits, and it is compulsory for all the students. So today's session will be focusing not only on practical component but also on a dissertation component of it.
So sir has clearly stated the structure of the adult education programs. Secondly, I want to ask, what are the basic purpose, assumptions and objectives of practical work?
Basic purpose of this practical work in this 3 programs is that it is intended to provide the student different opportunities and experiences related to practice of adult education and to help them perform the practical activities in a systematic manner. That is the basic purpose. Coming to the assumptions related to this program, when this course material was being developed, there were certain basic assumptions that were kept in mind. That is, all the students may not be having only minimum entry qualifications. Some of them may be having much higher qualifications, and some students may be pre-service students, that is, who are not employed, and some may be in service, that is, the people with experience and higher qualifications may be there, and fresh graduates naturally are pre-service students. And another assumption that was kept in mind was that these persons with higher qualifications and experience may be working in the field of adult education or in other fields. And because of that thing, the practical activities for pre-service students and all the in-service students cannot be completely one and the same. There must be some kind of variation. That was another assumption. And moreover, all the students are distance learners and they are naturally expected to have high motivation, and they all can acquire various skills more systematically and also effectively by going through the self-instructional materials, which includes the practical handbooks. So these are the basic assumptions.
Then
And
objectives, sir, what are the objectives of this practical work?
Objectives of these practical works are that this reinforce the students' theoretical understanding of various aspects of adult education through its practice. That is, for building their capacity and enhancing their professional competency. And another objective is to develop their abilities, skills, interests and attitudes, as well as values, which will be helpful in facilitating learning, education, training and networking of adults for their all-round growth and development, as well as that of society as a whole. And another important objective is to equip them with the skills of applying the principles of participatory adult learning motivation to achieve and advance the aims, objectives and purposes of adult education policies and programs. Another objective is to promote their skills of surveying the community, the institutions, different programs and their functionaries for effective networking to bring about social, economic, political and cultural change, as well as development and transformation that leads to evolution of the societies. And the last objective is to equip them with the skills and competencies of identifying the needs and problems of adults and their communities, as well as addressing them for their individual and collective growth and development.
Okay, so we got a clear understanding about the objectives, assumptions, as well as the basic purpose of this practical work. And generally, when we go through this practical component handbook, we can see that there are different categories of practical activity or practical components. Why are there different categories of practical activities?
Yeah, as I have highlighted earlier, there are 3 types of activities, which we call them as 3 different components. That is, community-based practical activities, simply CPA, and workshop-based practical activities, simply WPA. And the third component is Adult Education Training Center or institution-based practical activities. Simply it is called AETCIPA. Whereas this community-based practical activities are common for both the PGDAE students as well as Master of Arts students who are in the first year. But this community-based practical activities component has been taken out and included as a separate course with the course code MAEL 002, and that alone is the practical component for PGCAE. Why there are three different types of components? That is a very good question, and the reason behind these three components are that community-based practical activities are performed by the students in the community, their own community, in the local area, or slightly beyond their local areas also they can perform, and this they will be doing without any time-bound restrictions. So they are free to do it with a good comfort, and they will be doing it on their own. And they will have interaction with different categories of community members, children, adults, old age people, functionaries working in the area, and many other things they will be coming across. Next is workshop-based practical activities. As far as workshop-based practical activities are concerned, these are performed at the Program Study Center or Learner Support Center. So at this workshop, the students will have opportunity to interact with their peer groups, that is the colleagues, and the staff of the Learner Support Center, and at the same time they will be having the opportunity to submit their community-based practical activities, and their restrictions are there. See, workshop has a prescribed schedule, time-bound schedule. Every day there are 4 sessions, and they will have to perform the certain activities also. Here they will have the experiences of working in a formal environment, whereas in the case of community-based practical activities, they were doing it or they do it in a community. That is quite informal setup. So here setups are changing from informal to formal setup, and they will be rather getting the experience of how to cope up with tight schedules like workshops. Third component is the Adult Education Training Center or institution based practical activities. See, they have moved from informal to formal thing. Yes. Now they will be moving to the official sort of environment where they will be placed in the institution, particular institution as a intern, and also they will be exposed to certain kind of activities through which they will be getting altogether different experiences. So the way these components are organized from community based activities in an informal setup, workshop based activities in a tightly scheduled formal setup, and then to the official environment. So they will be getting diverse experiences. That is the basic purpose of it.
Okay, we got the diverse experiences of the learners, how they are getting. So here in the community-based practical activities, as stated that there is no time-bound constraints. So up to whether any theory courses should be completed for that, or in the midst when they can do this community-based practical activities.
Yes, I think it is quite normal question that the students will be getting, whosoever gets enrolled for these programs. See, we always expect the students to complete the theory courses before they go for the practical activities, because that provides them a kind of theoretical understanding of the policies and programs. Then when they are going to the field, they will be in a better position to understand how these theoretical things are operating in the field, and also how these policies and programs are being implemented or working at the grassroots level. So that is why we expect them to first complete assignments of the theory courses, then do the practical activities, and out of this they should do the first activity, that is a CPA. In the given order they are expected to perform the activities.
Okay, sir. Then another doubt may be arising in the students is that where and when do the learners perform the three categories of practical activities?
See, from the very components titles, we can understand that community-based practical activities means they will be performing them in the community only. That is where is addressed. When is after completing the theory courses. So that is as far as the community-based practical activities is concerned. As far as workshop-based activities are concerned, only after completion of the CPA component, we expect them to participate in the workshop, because they can even submit their reports there, and they will be participating effectively in the workshop-based practical activities with all their theoretical understanding and also experience of having done the CPA category activities. Next is the third one, which they will be doing it in a perfect institutional setup, where they will be exposed to all kinds of institutional environmental aspects, so that they will learn many things there. So that is what is there, and I think students must have got it very clear.
Got it where and when they have to do. How are the community-based practical activities organized?
Community-based practical activities are organized again into two categories. One is compulsory activities which they have to perform, and another category is optional activities. So as far as compulsory activities are concerned, there are 6 activities which every student has to do, and out of optional activities, they have to perform only 1 credit worth activities, because 9 activities are there, and they have to choose how many activities will constitute 1 credit. So the compulsory activities are for 2 credits, and these optional activities are for 1 credit. So that is the basic organization. Coming to the details of this compulsory activities, they are named as A category activities. Yes. And first component is conducting a survey of community, local institutions and government programs. For this, different formats are given, and students will use the formats and they go ahead with it. So next is conducting a survey of career interests of degree college students and their interest in involving themselves in adult education activities in the community. This is about using the formats, yes. Okay. And also collecting the information on the given formats. Okay. Whereas third activity is about using internet and browsing certain important websites which are of local, institutional, national, regional and international or global importance, and they will be browsing them, and they will again use another format given for it, and they will record their experiences. And if there is any problem in performing A3A because of internet problems, etc., where it's not available, option is given so that they can perform this activity, that is organizing campaigns for promotion of awareness and functionality in the community. Yes. Next, coming to A4 activity, those who performed A3A activity by using internet, they can use the same facility for the benefit of the community as well. So these are all the resources available in websites, and how individuals or the community can get benefited out of it. Next is A4B, like in the A3 option, here where there is no internet facility, they can do this A4 activity, like observing as a participant or as an outside observer, any training programs organized for the field functionaries. Yes. A5, seeking intervention of implementing agencies of formal, non-formal and adult education programs. Next, A6 compulsory activity is establishing a professional network of student colleagues, that is peer group, and the professionals are the experts. This is last compulsory activity. Coming to the optional activities, because these are of different credits and student has to choose only one credit worth activities. Here the student can gather and address the community on a community issue or problem or evil. Another activity that here optionals are categorized as B1, B type activities. So facilitating establishment of adult education center or continuing education center in the community. Third activity is organizing community talk. If they themselves cannot talk, they can invite somebody else and they can get it done for the community, or organizing a debate or a panel discussion, that is B3. B4 is organizing a quiz program in the community, or B5 organizing a discussion groups in the community. Whichever is convenient, they can choose and do it. And rest of the activities are organizing a field trip or tour for the community. This is having a higher credits, that is 0.5 credits. Other activities for small credits. Say B7 is organizing visits by functionaries of development and or welfare programs, or by specialists for promotion of a sustainable development practice in the community. B8 is observing the functioning of a coaching center or study circle, coaching students for entrance examinations to professional courses or any other competitive examinations for positions of public service. B9 activity is promoting any socially useful and or productive activity of the students' interest or choice in the community. So these activities are optional activities for PGDAE and MAAE students, whereas activity B10, forming and running a voluntary organization or non-governmental organization, is an activity specially provided for PGCAE students, because this CPA is taken out of that MAEL 001 and constituted as a practical course for PGCAE.
And we have a detailed description about the various types of activities. Normally, a question arises: who could be the mentor or facilitator for these type of activities?
Because the students have to perform these activities, even if they honestly perform some activity and write a report, we as a faculty generally will have a suspicion that they must not have done it and they simply reported. That is the reason why we have made a provision of a mentor, guide or a facilitator. But at the same time, the students should not suffer in choosing a mentor. They should not be handicapped, because these students may be rural, semi-urban, urban, living in metropolis or even in hilly areas, etc. Wherever they are, they must be in a position to get the support of a mentor. So wide range of list is provided in the relevant student handbook for practical work. This ranges from school teachers or college teachers or principal or headmaster or headmistress of any school or college, or faculty of any national or state level institutions which are in that state, or any other formal education institution, or a teacher or a faculty or a member of any district level organizations or institutions such as DITE, or university level faculty such as faculty of department or center for adult continuing education and extension, or state resource centers, or sometimes state directorates of mass and or adult education, or any other non-governmental organization. So like that, field functionaries working in their local area, they can be chosen maybe for development program, welfare program, or any other program. Or if no one is available, we have even included any experienced, active and resourceful person from the community, including a local leader. But basic qualification for all these people is at least graduation.
Yes.
So because teacher also is a graduate, they can guide the students like that. Anybody having graduation, we are allowing graduate to do that. Next is list any organizer, coordinator, or faculty member from community level institutions, be it cyber cafe or study circle or coaching center, etc., or any other community institution or members having experience of conducting a survey of any kind. Similarly, wide list is provided. I think students can easily choose any one from among the given list. It is
So
all
the
for
list
their
is available
yeah,
with
it
the
is
regional
available in
center.
the material. So I here I want to skip this list.
So another one, normally a question arises, how are these activities evaluated?
This activity, actually the students have to write a report for each activity, and they have to compile all the reports and submit it as a one single report. And how they should submit it, it is all given. Once that report is ready, they can submit it to their respective study center or the regional center, where they will get it evaluated, or sometimes they may send it to the headquarters for getting it evaluated. That's how we will do it.
Whether online submission is possible for the reports?
No, generally we don't allow, unless it is an exceptional case.
Okay. Some emergency time only
yeah,
we will
yeah.
allow. Okay. What is the duration of workshop?
Workshop is of 12 days duration, and workshop is organized by the learner support center with the permission of the regional center, and every student has to complete it, but after completion of a CPA category of activities.
How are the workshop based activities organized?
Workshop based activities are scheduled over 4 sessions every day. Okay. And these 4 sessions will have different sorts of activities. For example, the students will have the opportunity to listen to the lectures or to the debates or any discussions, and they will be having the experience of participating in the plenary sessions and also parallel sessions, and they will be doing certain activities individually and also doing certain activities in a group. So like that, they will be having a variety of experiences. They will be in a position to interact with the students and interacting with the others also. So like that, 12 days details are in fact given in the handbook. And it is facilitative for students and also the organizers of this workshop.
Okay. Whether there are any supporting documents or materials for the practical components?
Yes, this MAEL 001, which is titled Practical Work Components. It is in the form of student handbook for practical activities that provides complete orientation to the students.
Okay. Next one, how is the evaluation of these activities done?
See, as I mentioned, each activity is having certain weightage.
Yes.
And accordingly, students will be given some grade point. When grade is given, grade point is known. So it is a weighted average that will be taken finally for awarding the grade for a particular category or component of these activities.
And when we look at the credit, we can see that it is not the same for all the activities. Could you please mention about why there are different credits for that and how the students have to?
Yeah, actually these credits are given depending upon the quantum of work they are expected to do or they are expected to put in. Accordingly, it is quantified.
Yes.
That is the basis.
Okay. So after conducting all these activities, normally a question arises, what is the minimum grade for completing the practical work?
Yes, I think it is very important thing because every student has to get at least a C grade in each of the components, that is CPA, WPA, and the third component also. And average should be C. Automatically it will be C or higher than that.
What is the minimum and maximum duration for completion of each activity, practical activity?
See, it is not like any lab work, though we call it as a practical activity. It is simply at the freedom of the students. They will work at their own pace according to their own convenient time, and they can submit it, but not beyond the maximum period allowed for completing the program.
Okay. So now we will have a break. After the break, we will continue.
Complete practical
practical things come. Okay. So we are continuing. Then the next practical component, what is coming in front of this Master of Arts in Adult Education learners, that is the dissertation work. They have to do the dissertation work.
This is over.
What are the objectives?
Practical work
Yes.
component, then we will break them.
Okay.
If practical work components are over and there are no questions from the students, I think then
there
it's
is no
better,
questions coming from the learners also.
Okay,
There is
then we will break for it. If it is for dissertation work.
Dissertation work. Okay.
Okay, that would be.
So now we will have a break for 5 minutes. After that, we will discuss about the dissertation work.
आइए अब आपको दिखाते हैं एक गीत जिसे गा रही हैं विदुश्री पांडे।
है मेरे प्यारे वतन, है मेरे बिछड़े चमन, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान, तू ही मेरी आरज़ू, तू ही मेरी आबरू, तू ही मेरी शान, है मेरे प्यारे वतन, है मेरे बिछड़े चमन, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान। तेरे दामन से जो आए उन हवाओं को सलाम, तेरे दामन से जो आए उन हवाओं को सलाम, चूम लूँ मैं उस ज़ुबां को जिस पे आए तेरा नाम, सबसे प्यारी सुबह तेरी, सबसे रंगी तेरी शाम, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान, तू ही मेरी आरज़ू, तू ही मेरी आबरू, तू ही मेरी जान। माँ का दिल बन के कभी
Let's come back to the session. In the previous session, we have discussed about the practical components of adult education program. And in master program of adult education, there is a particular component termed as dissertation work. Sir, what are the objectives of the dissertation work?
The dissertation work objectives, not only for this program, for any master's degree program, generally is that it provides experience to the student as to how the research work is carried out. That is the aim of it.
Yes.
But coming to the specific objectives, the students will be in a position to put into practice their understanding of the research methodology, and at the same time they will be in a position to develop the proposal, execute the proposal, and write the report of it. So we will equip them. So
Yes.
to equip them with these skills, that is another objective. Last but not least, because every student has to know about the entire process and also the procedure to be followed for conducting this dissertation work. So these are the basic objectives of dissertation work.
How are the students oriented about the dissertation work?
In order to orient the students about dissertation work, we have prepared a separate handbook. It is a single block only, and it is a handbook for the students only. So by going through this handbook, they themselves can get oriented. In case they have any problems in understanding any aspects of it, they can always seek counseling, where they can approach the academic counselors at the study center, or they can contact the regional center or even the headquarter faculty for any specific purpose. So that is how this entire orientation is done for this.
How is the handbook on dissertation work useful to the students?
It serves many purposes. First of all, they have to identify a research problem. Then they have to analyze the research problem, whether it is significant or not, and also the feasibility of the conducting research on such a topic. So if it is properly identified and properly evaluated, then that will be helpful to serve as a proper topic, and then they can formulate the research questions, aspects,
Yes.
Objectives of the study, etc. So based on that thing, they will be in a position to describe and discuss various aspects of the proposal. That is another objective, that they will be in a position to describe and discuss these aspects, and they will be in a position to prepare a research proposal. That is, our objective is to enable them to prepare a research proposal on a identified research problem, and also to enable them to execute the research proposal. Finally, they will be enabled to write the research report in the form of a dissertation. So these are all the basic objectives, where we will be equipping them with the requisite skills.
So normally we will get queries from learners that how to prepare a research proposal. Could you say something about how to prepare a research proposal?
I think in order to prepare a research proposal, they should have first holistic understanding of the entire dissertation work, as to how this research work is carried out. There are certain essential steps involved in doing this thing. Then only they will be in a position to develop their proposal. First and foremost thing is selection and formulation of the research problem. Okay.
Yes.
So they have to select the right topic, then only they should formulate the research problem, And then comes, once they have understood the problem, rather different aspects of the problem, then they will be in a position to develop a research proposal on the problem, and that will be followed by execution of the proposed research study and writing the report of the research, including the references and bibliography.
Yes.
All these things they will be in a position to. As far as developing a research proposal is concerned, they should keep certain questions in mind why they should develop a proposal. While developing, the first and foremost aspect or question that they should consider is, what do you propose to do? Means the student, he has to pose a question to himself, or the supervisor should pose a question to the student. So what do you propose to do? Here comes the title of the study. Okay. Next is, what do you intend to conduct the, why do you intend to conduct the proposed study? Here, the context or the justification, rationale of the study is covered in this thing. Next question they should consider is, how do you define the study? If you ask them how you define the study, there the student will be in a position to understand the statement of the problem. Next is, how do you operationally define the terms used in the title of the study? See, when the title is precisely written, there will be certain terms. So why those particular terms are used, they need to be defined operationally. So here comes that component of the proposal. And what earlier researches tell you about the research study? You need to look into the review of literature. You have to review, otherwise you will not be in a position to get a holistic picture of what has already been done in the field. Next is, what do you intend to address through your study? Means, what are your basic research questions? Next is, what do you intend to achieve through your study? Here comes the objectives of the study. Next is, what tentative solutions do you formulate for research questions? Here comes the hypothesis. If you have certain solutions which you have contemplated based on whatever the work or understanding you have had, work is done by others or your own understanding, so you can formulate the hypothesis. Then what will be the scope of your proposal? So it will be delimiting your study. Beyond certain limits you cannot go. Here you will specify whatever the delimitations are there. Then how do you propose to conduct the study? Here comes the question of methodology. You should highlight methodology that you will be adopting for conducting your research. Next is, what is the total number of units for which research is proposed? Here comes the population. What is the total population that you are considering, and out of which another question is, what is the small number of units to be selected for the purpose of conducting the study? Here you will be determining the sample for your study. Next is, what means do you propose to use for collection of research evidences? Here you will be talking about the tools and techniques of data collection when you are developing a proposal. Next is, how do you propose to collect research evidence? Having developed the tools, what is the procedure you would like to follow? So that will address this question. How do you propose to analyze the obtained evidences? Once you collect the data, how to analyze? What type of data you have collected? So how you will be going ahead with analysis of different types of data? That will answer in this thing. What implications would your proposed study have for practice of education? So here comes the results, findings and suggestions and how they will be useful for research work in the given field. So when you develop a research proposal, you need to look into all these aspects, then only your proposal will be complete.
Okay. So we have a detailed description about how to develop a research proposal. And normally some question comes in the minds of the learner that what type of research topics do the learners need to select? As an adult education learner, what type of research topics they have to select?
Research topic that is selected by a student must be new one first of all. Next is whether it is significant.
Yes.
New, no doubt, whether it is significant or not. Even if it is significant, whether it is practicable or not.
The feasibility
of the problem. Here you need to look into all these things and you need to consider these aspects when you are selecting and formulating a research problem. First of all, you need to specify the exact title. For that, you need to evaluate the problem. Once the problem is feasible and researcher competence also allows, has the interest, and also the financial implications etc. are taken care of, then the student will be in a position to go ahead with that title. Otherwise it is not that easy. So once the problem title is finalized, then the statement of the problem also can be done by covering the title, research questions, objectives, hypothesis, operational definitions of the terms used, need and significance, delimitations and implications of the study. Once these things are properly articulated, that is what exactly we call as a statement of the problem. And some students may get confused with the title of the study. Title of the study is different and statement of the problem is different, because statement of the problem touches upon different aspects of the problem identified for the study. That is the difference between the title and statement of the problem.
Sir, could you please specify some of the major areas where the adult education learner can do research? Which areas? Some of the...
See, there are many areas they can do research about theories and their implications for adult learning, and a kind of comparative study of the theories, and next policy implementations. Okay, and there are different programs, and also there are different materials like basic literacy, post literacy and continuing education, and this content analysis of these different literacy materials also can be taken up, and also evaluation of adult education programs can be taken up at different levels. So these are all basic things, and if at all people want to go about the philosophical research or psychological foundations of adult education, sociological foundations of adult education, these things also are important. They can as well go into those things.
Next, when you stated about the steps of preparing a research proposal, you mentioned about research question and objectives. How are these two terms differ from each other?
See, research question is to address certain issue. So you will put it in the form of a research question, whereas statement is in the form of intended objectives that you want to achieve through conducting the research. So there can be certain what to say, you asked
the research question and objective.
Some of the objectives, if they are accomplished, then they would be in a position to address certain research questions. What some people do is they get confused with the research questions and also relevance of research questions to formulation of research objective.
Yes.
Based on the research question only, they wanted to simply derive objective.
Yes.
Just by linking only one statement.
Yes.
So if you transform this research questions into statements, then it becomes a objective for them. No, it is not like that actually. So objectives are to be specifically spelled out.
Yes.
So that once the objectives are achieved, then only it will be in a position to address the research questions.
Next, what are the tools generally can be used for data collection?
There are different tools for data collection, and particularly in the field of education and adult education and social sciences, etc. Inquiry forms are mostly used tools. This inquiry means forms we develop. Maybe they are questionnaires or schedules or opinionaire or attitude scales, rating scales, etc. So like that, all these things which we develop, they are all called inquiry forms. By using them, the researcher will be in a position to collect data. Other tools are observations, personally going there and observing, and some other tools are interviews. Like why I am touching upon these things are there are tools which would be helpful for collecting the quantitative data, and there are certain tools like observation, interview, focus group discussion, etc. Would help in collecting the qualitative data.
Okay, what are the types of sampling techniques a researcher can use?
There are different sampling techniques, and no one particular sampling technique will fit for all researchers. So the student has to choose them depending upon the objectives of the study.
Yes.
These sampling techniques are of two types: random sampling techniques and
probability and non-probability
probability and
yes.
non-probability sampling techniques. In the case of probability sampling techniques, this randomization is an important thing, and that is every unit of a population should get equal chance of getting selected into the sample wherever this randomness is involved. These are all called probability sampling techniques. And there are different types of probability sampling techniques, starting with simple random sampling, stratified random sampling, systematic sampling, cluster sampling, like that. So student has to consider based upon the objectives of the study. Next comes to non-probability sampling techniques. Here there is no
chance of selection of
equal chance of units getting selected. So this compared to this random and non-random or probability and non-probability sampling techniques, rather the better one is always random sampling techniques are the probability samples, because there will be more rather perfect representation of the
population
items,
so
that they can represent the population. That is the thing.
Next, what is the format of dissertation report?
There is no definite format of dissertation, and it can vary depending upon the study. Different studies can have different formats, but basically the institutions may decide certain formats, if at all it is of specialized institution, or certain departments, if at all they want to have particular type of format, they can do that thing. So it can be institution specific or in-house format one can develop, but the general formats depend upon the style of report written. Then in that there will be 3 broad sections cutting across any kind of research. So that's what I am putting in the form of a general format. In the case of a general format, there will be preliminary section. So, that is the first one. Second is a body of the report. Third one is the reference section. In the case of preliminary section, there will be a title page, there will be preface, and there will be table of contents, which includes a list of tables, figures, etc. Next comes the body of the research report. Okay, in that body, the researcher will highlight introduction, background, rationale of the study, statement of the problem will follow. Next is methodology of the study, where design of the study will be touched upon, and next will be analysis and interpretation of data. Finally, summary, conclusions and suggestions will be there. So after that, the reference section will come. In the reference section, there will be references put or bibliography, it is given, and appendices also will be there, where the tools used can be put, or if at all the analysis is going to be very lengthy, you can add it at the end of the report as annexures. I think.
Okay, sir. When and where the learners have to submit their proposal and the dissertation?
See, learners have to submit their proposal to the regional center only, and regional center will get it evaluated, and once the students get the communication from the regional center that particular proposal has been approved, then only the students should execute the work, and report should be submitted to the regional center only.
How can the learners get the research supervisor allotted?
The student has to approach the study center or the regional center, whichever is having the list of the research supervisors. From the list of supervisors, they can identify the supervisor and get the permission of the regional center.
Okay, what are the aspects involved in evaluation of dissertation work?
There are two aspects involved. One is the research report. For report, there is separate grading given, and that is for, in fact, 80% weightage will be there for that. And there will be viva voce also. That is, two components are there, dissertation and viva voce. And for viva voce also separate grade.
Before that, after getting approval
20%. 20% is weightage for viva voce.
Okay. Before that, research proposal approval is must. Then only they will start that research report.
Yes. Okay. Without the proper approval, that too, proposal prepared under the guidance or supervision of the approved supervisor. Okay. Now, actually, supervisors of MAAE separately are there, and also even MA education supervisors. Means there is MESP 001 course. For that also approved supervisors are there. Now they are also eligible to guide or the supervise the work of the students of MAAE program under MAEP 001. And they can go through this handbook for different aspects that we have discussed, where thorough description of all the things are given.
So thank you for your patient listening, and thank you to Dr. EMPC Reddy for giving an elaborate presentation about the practical components as well as the dissertation work. And for a detailed information, we advise each learner to go through the handbook and the practical component material also, which was prepared and presented in an elaborate way. Thank you.